Yo, we are back, man. We are here today. We have a hoodie on or a sweatshirt thing, whatever you want to call it. I get that comment all the time. I had someone yesterday ask me if I had spent all my money on shirts or on my did I sell all my shirts to buy combines, and yes, I did. So I need you guys to Venmo and Cash at me, please, because I'm broke. Anyways, besides that. Friday, we've had a lot of tough Fridays, and today I talked about being afraid to lose, and we took a loss today. We took a loss, and I want to go over that, and then we took a win. I want to go over how I kept my cool and stuff like that, and what I'm happy about, what I did right, what I did wrong. I did do some things wrong today. Nothing crazy about like over leveraging, stuff like that, but I did just execute a little bit poorly, and I want to go over those mistakes. But I'm making this video literally right after I just closed my last trade. And I kind of just want to go over, my day and just go over my mistakes and just talk about the positives, because I was afraid of losing and I took a loss today. My first trade was a loss, and looking back, it wasn't like a great trade, and it was kind of frustrating to have taken it. But I'm happy with how I managed myself emotionally to get back into and get into a good position, and take a good trade, a good second trade to make up for it. Super, super happy with how I managed today, and that brings our account balance to $1,900 positive. So we are a little bit closer, just $111. This week was a little bit small. Today, I'm not I traded two micros, both trades. I'm not really sure why. I went small size. I don't mind it. I think I went small size on both of them. The first one just because it wasn't that great of a trade, so subconsciously I kind of knew, okay, maybe this isn't that good. And then my second trade, I decided to take it because it looked really, really good, but I was going to take profit early on one position, or on one micro, and I was going to go to break even early. And I knew that going into the trade, just because I really, really wanted to see us come down and take out these equal lows right here. But we had already done that with ES. Has already taken it. I want to take out these equal lows, which is a 15-minute gap here. And would just be nice because this looks like a lot of consolidation, really. And I wanted to see that happen. So, but the trade just looked too nice. So I guess before I go into the trade, I'll go over my pre-market bias, and I kind of just alluded to it, right? I wanted to see this range. I wanted to see one of the extremes, the previous day high or the equal lows right here with this 15-minute gap. I wanted to see one of those get taken and then move higher or lower, depending on which one. If we go to ES, previous day high is actually a little bit different. Notice how this is the high on NQ, and I'll just do this real quick so we can see side by side. If we're looking at the NQ on the 15-minute and we're looking at the ES 15-minute, the ES is on the right-hand side. Notice how this high right here, let's mark it out, or how do you draw? Notice how this high here and this high here, notice how ES sweeps this high right there. Shoot. Let me turn off this thing. Notice how we don't sweep this high here, and we do sweep the high there. So we have the SMT there going to open, and we also have SMT here. So we have NQ's low. That's not a straight line. And then we have ES's low. This is not a straight line, but trust me, we have an SMT at these lows here. So ES had swept both sides, which made this a little bit interesting going off open. I kind of was, just a little bit like, what are we going to do here? Not really sure how I feel about that and how that's going to make me change my approach. But I still was confident that I wanted to see NQ take one of those sides before I took a trade. So my bias was neutral. If I wrote down in my Notion journal, which I will be making a video because a lot of people have been commenting about just the Notion stuff, and I don't think I have the greatest charting sessions ever, but I like what I have out here. And I'm going to make a tutorial. I'm going to make it today. I'm wearing the same exact fit. It will be dropping Saturday or Sunday, just how I like to use Notion. So I had this screenshot. This was pre-market, and I wrote down a neutral bias, pre-market bias, neutral. There was news, and then I said neutral bias as I want to see us go lower than run the LR, but would also take shorts with a sweep of previous day high. So again, when we look at the picture, I want to see us run these lows in the fair value gap and run the LR that we generated, but we didn't get that. So right off open, right off open, if we bring up the ES again here, right off open, ES ran previous day's high. So we put in an SMT off open, right? We failed to take out this high. And this is where I took my first trade. And why I say I don't like my first trade is because our first trade, I do not like it because, where are we? I'll go on the M and Q so I don't have all my drawings on my last trade. So my first trade was off this 1 minute inversion. There's a good amount of reasons why I don't like this. First of all, let me pull up the executions why I go over it. And real quick though, so I took it off this 1 minute inverse because of the equal highs right here, and I thought that we were just going to continue bullish. ES was looking a lot more bullish at the time, so I thought I could get away with taking this trade. Reason I don't like it, we didn't really sweep any low, right? I would have rather saw us sweep all these lows here inside this 5 minute, 15 minute, and 1 hour imbalance. We didn't get that. We didn't sweep New York session low. We didn't really sweep anything. We're not bouncing from any PD array that I like to trade off of. And it was just purely an inversion because of expecting the price to go higher. Also, I'll show you guys on the live, the live video replay, right? We also had 10 o'clock news come out. I knew about 10 o'clock news, but I really just didn't think it'd be volatile at all because I've seen, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I've seen it before in the past, really not matter that much. So I was like, okay. We ended up getting in, and we were accidentally on the practice account, so we go over to our combine, and we get in. We get a pretty good fill, I think, somewhere. Maybe not that bad. I waited to see if I could get lower. We got in there, and we were risking from the start 127, which is all right. Again, 2 micros. And it looked all right off rip, right? It was looking pretty good. I was like, oh, well, this actually looks pretty good. I forgot about the fact that we had news at 10 o'clock, which was in 13 seconds. And you guys will see the volatility increase right here. News comes out right now, and the volatility just increases. Nothing crazy, but it just starts moving a lot more. And I almost just closed the trade. And I don't hate that I didn't close the trade. I don't hate it if I did close the trade. I just didn't think news would be this volatile. And I was hoping that the draw on liquidity I had was correct. So I didn't end up taking a win here, obviously, but I did manage it, I think, pretty good. We held this order block and this fair value gap, and we started displacing higher, so I moved my stop loss to trail to $100 loss. And then when we finally get a move back up, we get an inversion on the 15 second. So I moved my stop loss here for $66 loss. And at this point, it was looking good. And I was like, okay, good. I held the trade nice. This was good. We went through some drawdown. And I want to see continuation. We get this nasty wick. And that's probably where, if I knew that I wasn't making an emotional decision, I could just close the trade. But a lot of times that's me just being emotional and just like, closing it just for no reason. So I didn't really want to just close the trade. I didn't want to just, kind of scare myself out of it and then miss out on some opportunity there. My hair. So I didn't want to miss out on opportunity. So I was like, you know what? Let's just stick through it. It looks all right. It's not the worst. And it ends up just falling through and stopped me out. So the one thing I want to talk about why we watched the price play out here. The one thing I want to talk about with that trade is I took a loss, right? Again, it wasn't a big loss, but it's because I managed myself accordingly so that I didn't have to take a big loss, right? I didn't have to take a big loss because I managed the position. I managed the position, and I did my job to take as small losses as possible. And it ended up, helped me out because then I didn't have to really worry about too much. And yeah, I took a loss, and I've been afraid to lose because I normally will, especially on Friday, I'll start crashing out. I'll start taking dumb setups. I'll start, just forcing things, just trying to get back in, make it back as quick as possible. And then I just took a good look at it, and I was able to reflect, and I said, you know what? This wasn't a great trade, right? If we look at the 1 minute again, I was like, you know what? This wasn't a great trade, right? It's not something that I really am proud of taking. It's not really something I want to continue to take. It's something I need to definitely try and move away from. Why did I probably take it? I was probably a little bit focused on a quick buck, right? I knew that if we got this move here, when we inverse, I thought we would at least get this blue line, which would have been $65, and then target this high, previous day high, which would have been another little bit, And I was like, you know what? That's pretty nice, right? Let me do that, and that will be nice. It'll reward me, and it'll be a nice little scalp, right, on a Friday. Part of it's probably from missing trades yesterday. It made me feel like, you know what, let's get into this and let's get involved. And yeah, so there's just a few things. So I recognize the mistakes I made, but I was able to, after the loss, while I was still looking for maybe another trade, I was able to just look at myself and be honest and say, you know what, this wasn't that good of a trade. You know, it makes sense that we lost. We kept our loss small, and it's not that big of a deal. What I can't just, you know, throw away progress on the account just because I took a loss. I can't just, you know, start gambling or over leverage or try and revenge trade, because that's not going to really do anything for me. I've done that many, many times, and it's failed every single time. So I said, you know what? It is what it is. I took a loss. Let's just see if we can get what we want. So what did I do? I waited, and again, I still wanted these equal lows or something in here to go back up or to go higher and then go back down low. I had this target. I really think we run this. I will be very surprised if we don't run these highs here and previous day high. Honestly, I'll just be shocked. I think we're gearing great structure right now. We're starting to accumulate. I think once we put in an order block here, or even a 15-minute fair value gap, we're about to open one, I think the structure still looks really good for longs up into this high, and I'll actually paper trade if we get a nice another setup. But at this point, I wanted the equal lows. So how did I end up getting to a trade? Well, I want you guys to notice this. We'll go here. I want you guys to notice this fair value gap right here, right? This 5-minute right here. This 5-minute gap right here was unfilled. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 relative equal highs on the 5-minute, and I knew that I was likely going to get taken. So I didn't know if it was going to get taken first and then go to the lows, or if it was going to go to lows and then go get taken. So that was a very strong conviction point for me for the market to go to. So if we drop down to the 1 minute, what I was looking at was a possible entry to it when we get down here or before that. So I was looking at the market, saw these equal highs, and I saw, okay, one low here, a sweep with no displacement, another low, sweep with no displacement, right? So if we were really, really bearish, we probably would just have fallen through and taken out the equal lows. So in my head, if we hadn't taken out the equal lows already, why have we not done that? Well, maybe we need to rebalance to this 5-minute fair value gap to then push price lower, is what made sense in my head. So I noticed that we had a 1-minute gap here, a 1-minute fair value gap, and I noticed we had a 2-minute fair value gap right in the same spot. Perfect. So live time, when I was waiting for this trade, I said, you know what? If we can get a close above this fair value gap, especially with this order block, this series of down close candles getting closed above, I will like that trade to at least get to break even here. So again, I went in with 2 micros because I said, you know what? It's very, very high chance that I get to break even. And yeah, it's something that I don't mind being a part of, because I think that if we get an inversion here, we will at least get to the break-even point. So you might say, well, it closed up here. That's where I ended up entering because this close was so close to inversing. Again, people are going to say that the rule is a close above. I understand, and that's what I do for the most part. But at the end of the day, trading your inverse fair value gap, your fair value gap, your order block is not magic, right? It is not. It just plain and simply, it's not magic, right? So yes, you should wait for a close, but there has to be context, right? When you see this move up and it barely doesn't close, yes, there's a chance that this fair value gap could hold, but I'm more often than not seeing this price run straight up. We have an order block, we have an inversion here, right? We already inversed this fair value gap here, and we were just starting the pump price. If we go on the 15-second, we don't really have anything too clean. Well, we're starting the pump price, we had inversed this gap, and this one pretty much inversed. So I jump in because I knew that this candle could expand like this and get to my break-even point without me getting an entry. So I was like, you know what, I'm cool getting in here, and this is where I'll pull up the replay. Because I knew that I would at least get to break-even, hopefully, right, that's the idea. And I'll go over some of the mistakes I made on this trade. The first one being, and you'll see, I took profit at the break-even point. Why did I do that? Well, I did it because I was down on the day, so I wanted to secure something. I don't hate, listen, I do not hate a take profit there. The reason I do not hate a take profit there is simply because we could have been bearish, right? That 5 minute could have held. That could have been turtle soup on the highs, and we could have ran the equal lows, right? We have an SMT with the bearish at the previous day high. We have bearish structure, right? We were bearish at the time. So I don't mind to take profit there, but I also do recognize that I did it out of impulse. Why did I move my stop to break even, and why am I not upset? A lot of times I don't like moving to break even this early. The momentum was crazy. If we fail to take out that high, I don't think I want to be in the trade anyways, right? So that was my thought process. So I think I did that fine. I did that perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. And now we're in the 5-minute fair value gap. So I was like, okay, cool. I took my profit, locked in 30-something bucks. So now I'm guaranteed to lose $34 if it comes down, stops me out, or 30 bucks, right? So I was fine with my stop loss now. I'm like, cool, is what it is. It might come down to the equal lows now. I just wanted to see that 5-minute. When I saw this 5-minute get ran, I was more confident, obviously. The 5-minute ends up closing as an inverse right around here. And at this point, this is where I'm happy with what I did. I held the trade. I normally would just be like, oh my gosh, I'm up on the day. Let me just close. And I was going to target that high there. I put it a little bit below just because it was 200 bucks. It would have been like $201 if I left on the blue line. The reason why I moved it there is just because 100 points is 100 points, man. You don't get 100 points that often. You don't need to, set your. I'm trading with such small size, so I'm having to hit these big plays, but I don't want to be a trader that has to hit 100-point trades. I want to be able to make my living off 30-point trades, 30 to 50 points, right? That's what I want to do. So I was sitting here, it was up 80. I'm like, you know what? This looks really good, but I would hate to give up $80. I would hate to be down on the day. And all these different things went through my head, so I'm glad I didn't just close it because of those things. And I was like, look, let's see how price plays out. So in my head, I wanted to see this 1-minute hold, and we get a very nice reaction out of this 1 minute. I'm kind of playing my stop loss to see where the break even on the day would be, but I'm waiting to see as I get a reaction and get some momentum back up before I really move my stop loss. And then we get a nice reaction out of this 1-minute fair value gap right here. If we're in the 5-minute, we get a very, very nice reaction. This is a very nice reaction off the 1 minute, right? We trade into it, we trade lower, and we close really bullish, and we get a very strong candle out. I then marked out this 1-minute fair value gap, which I basically thought to myself, which was, really the last resistance point, and I moved my stop loss under that wick because that's where we rebalanced to, and I was gonna move it if we didn't close back above this because I wanted to see an inversion happen right around here. So what do? We end up not inversing, so we kind of stall for a little bit. I move my stop back down to break even on the day if it stops me out. But right now I'm floating about 60 or 55, 60 points, right? That's a big move, right? Again, like I said, I'm not going to be a trader that relies on 100-point moves. I'm going to be a trader that makes my living taking 30 handles, 50 points max. Like, again, I would love to take 100-point moves, 200-point moves, 150-point moves. But that's not where I'm going to put my focus and energy on. I don't need to be someone that hits 100-point trades to make a living. I just need to be consistent enough to be able to scale to where I can make good money, catching 25 points, 30 points, 50 points. And then, yes, when you get that run that's perfect, you have that runner, you have that liquidity target, you have a really strong conviction in a trade, yeah, hold that trade 100 points, 150 points. But I don't have that confidence yet, and I also don't have that desire yet. So I marked out this fair value gap, and I was like, okay, this is another great reaction. Really, really good reaction. So I start trailing my stop. I haven't let go of it. Just kind of see what that would do. And I was going to move my stop to the bottom of that inverse just because I have one contract. So, you want to hold to your targets, but when you're one contract deep and you only start with 2, it's very hard to just let a trade play 100-something points. So we get a inversion here, I believe, in 5 seconds. We see the close. And then I move my stop, so now I've locked in $98 on this runner. And I end up just kind of closing it, and I'll kind of go through my reasoning. It was just up. I was up 143, and I was looking at this here. I was looking at that there. It said 1,900 flat. And I just said, you know what? The trade was floating 150 bucks. That's about 75 points. In my head, I'm saying, you know what? I'm happy with 75 points. Do I really need that extra 25 points? Yes, it's 50 bucks. But I just didn't want to see us put in a relative equal high and dump down. So I did manage that trade with emotions. I would be just furious going through this. I pretty much got out of the best spot. What do I think is going to happen? I still think it plays out. I think we come down to this 15-minute gap right here. I want to see us have an SMT at that 15-minute. We don't have a gap here, but we could have an SMT still. I want to see an SMT with a 5-minute gap, right? Which is, let's see where that is on ES. So yeah, I want to see an SMT there. Would be ideal. I think maybe we could have just got it. No. So I would like to see an SMT there, or maybe an SMT at these lows. But I still think it goes higher. So what were the mistakes on that trade that I made? Well, obviously, just closing the trade. Right now, we're better off for it. But in the long run, probably not. But again, I saw 75 points from my entry, right? We entered around here. It was up around 75 points, like I said. And that's 75 points. Do I want to potentially risk 75 points to make 25 more? And that's kind of where I start to make a decision. Because again, if your take profits here and market's up here, it's 25 points, and then to your entry is about 75 points. So that's not really, I don't know if anyone's ever thought about it this way, but that's kind of how I think about it. Is like, hold for your target, but if you're at $75 or 75 points, you're now risking your 74 points to make 25 more, right? And that means that and again, not saying that you shouldn't hold your runners. That's just how my brain works and how I'm thinking about it. Not saying that's good or bad, but that's how I was thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with this trade. I'm happy with this trade. I'm happy with the money I made on it. And I did see 1,900, and I was like, yo, what are we saying, right? So I saw the 3 drive, I saw the inversion almost, and I knew that these were relative equal highs ready to get ran, and we didn't get them. So, but I still think we do. So what were the mistakes? Again, like I said, just taking profits early. Just the biggest one, again, taking profits at this high. I think that one was just a little bit crazy. Although, again, I don't hate it because, like I said, it could reverse here. And again, if I'm trading with a full contract, that's 17 points. That's 100. That's $300, $350. I mean, that's not nothing, right? That's not nothing. $350 there. And now I think we have the SMT. Nope. We're going to get it at the same time. So I'd want to see us sweep that low. But again, so see what would happen, right? If I didn't close the trade, and again, I'm not saying I should have or shouldn't have, but if I didn't close that trade, I'd be looking at this and I'd be like, why didn't I just close it, right? And again, that's a bad habit most of the time for me, just closing positions early. But I didn't have 5 contracts that I could take off, most off at these equal highs here in this fair value gap, and then, some off, like 2 off here, and leave a runner, or 1 off here, 2 off here, leave runner, right? I didn't have that luxury. So it's kind of just like when you're playing with 1 or 2 micros, it's very hard to know, should I hold this or should I not? That's what I struggle with. So yeah, I mean, I think I did well today. I'm really happy with how I managed myself after a loss. I waited for a good setup, something I wanted, something I had conviction in, and it rewarded me, right? It benefited me to do that, and I'm happy for it because I was scared to lose. Again, it's not a big loss, so I'm going to be I'm scared. I still haven't been able to face that, right? I haven't been able to take a big loss and recover good, but it's nice to have taken a loss and just be able to say, you know what, cool, we took a loss. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can find and just get back in the marketplace. I'm going to take a paper trade here on this 1-minute inversion. 2-minute. On this 30-second inversion.
Order filled.
So this 30-second right here. I want to see that hold because we swept this low. Maybe an SMT. No SMT. But we swept that low. And I want to see that be the continuation. But we'll close it. But yeah, so that was the trade. That was the mistakes. That was everything. And yeah, I'm happy with the day, right? I'm happy with the day. Happy that I was able to recover a loss and not be emotional about it. But again, I still am fearful for the next loss or the day that the loss, covers like the day, right, where I lose 250 and I can't trade again. And then do I increase my stop loss? Do I, like all these different things, right? Those still have to answer those questions. I still have to get better there, and I still have to keep learning. But today was a nice step and a nice day, man. So it's a nice day, and I'm really grateful to end a Good Friday. And in the week up three. I was up 270. Let's see. We're about to close this thing. I'm not. Actually, you know what? I'm going to trade this as if it was the 5-minute gap. Wow, this 5-minute gap's big. So we close back below, so I'll kind of just close that there. And then we'll get back in first if we can. But again, this is paper. But we ended the week. Let's see what we did. We ended the week positive $384. 384. So 384, not a bad week. I'm trying to target around 500, because that's just like that's like 1 2-hour trade. If I risk 250, that's like 2 trades if I'm risking less. So I'm trying to get close to 500. That's kind of like my goal for the weeks, because I started obviously at 1,500 on this account, and I just need 1,500 to pass. So if I could do it in 3 weeks, great. If I can't, great, right? We'll keep going. So that was the trade. That was the recap of the day. And wow, this 1 minute actually ended up holding. So again, I'm happy that I got out now, right? Hindsight's always 20/20, like I like to say, for this exact reason, right? It's a Friday. We're in a range. We might not get back up. So you always have to be careful. You always have to protect yourself in these trades and just say, look, what am I willing to risk? What tolerance do I have? So happy with the day, happy with the win streak, 3 winning days in a row, and happy with losing, man. I'm happy that I got to practice losing. Again, it wasn't a big loss. It wasn't a devastating loss, so it wasn't, the best test ever, but it's always good. So again, I'll be making a video about how I use Notion today. It'll be up either tomorrow or Sunday, right? So I'll see you guys there, and I'll see you guys next week. We're closing in on 2,500 subscribers, which is unbelievable. Appreciate everyone. Let's get another quarter. Let's get our 10th quarter in that jar. And I'm really excited for that. So I appreciate everyone that watches these videos, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.